What's up and welcome to the channel where I repair race cars and things of that sort. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share this video, and in this video we're going to be repairing a Spec Miata that got into a tire wall, so stay tuned. Alright, so we've got this Spec Miata up on the frame machine, and it looks a lot worse than it actually is. This car hit a tire wall, and when a car hits a tire wall, the tires absorb a lot of the energy of the impact, which minimizes the structural damage, which is the case in this car. But one thing the tires do is they kind of wrap around the car and hug the car, if you will, and do a lot of sheet metal damage. Let me show you. So you can see all of this sheet metal damage. We're going to be replacing this hood because it's bent all over. We're going to be replacing this fender. We're going to be replacing this door, and we're going to be repairing this quarter panel. Now this door is bent really bad, and typically if a car door is bent this bad, the A-pillar here is pushed in, but this does not appear to be. Once you open the door up, you can see that the hinges still look okay. So I don't think that the A-pillar is bent on this car, but we'll take measurements just to make sure. Now the only structural I see is this apron assembly down here. Now this apron is pushed over, and the piece of the core support here that holds the fender, it's pushed over also. So we're going to be pulling this out with the frame machine, and we're going to try to pull that out with the frame machine without clamping the car down. We may have to, but for the first try we're going to be trying to grab this and pull it without clamping it down. So let's get this repair started off by getting all these damaged parts taken off. That way we can start fitting on the new parts. You ever have one of those days where nothing seems to be going right? Well, that's kind of the day we're having on the front of this car. It doesn't seem to be going the way we want it to go, so we're going to step away from the front of the car, go ahead and start repairing the stuff on the rear. We're going to repair the quarter panel, get the filler work done, and once we get all that repaired, we'll move back up to the front and see if we can get it worked out. Alright, so we've got all the filler work done, so let's start getting this thing taped up so we can get some primer on it. Alright, so we've got all the primer work done, so now let's move to the front of the car and get everything lined out. So remember when I said this thing looks worse than it is? Alright, so we've got this Spec Miata up on the frame machine, and it looks a lot worse than it actually is. This car, yeah, I think I jinxed myself. We got the door put on it, got the record panel repaired, we moved to the front of the car, started measuring it, and it is moved more than we initially thought. So we got it pulled where the measurements are right. We started hanging parts on the car. The front bumper is down. The fender gaps to the hood are wide on both sides. And what we've come to the conclusion is the core support is cattywampus. It's up in spots and down in other spots, which is throwing all the gaps off. So we ended up ordering a brand new core support. We're going to put this in here, and it should alleviate our problem. So we're going to get this one cut out and get this new core support put in. Alright, so we've got all these parts test fitted. Everything fits really well. All the gaps are good. So we're going to pull this thing back apart so we can get this core support welded in. Alright, so while he's finishing welding up the core support, I'm going to go ahead and start scuffing all these parts to get ready to cut in. Once everything's scuffed, we'll get it loaded up in the booth and get it taped up. The car is in the booth along with all the parts that need to be jammed in. We've got everything scuffed with a red pad and sanded with 320 grit sandpaper. We've also taped everything up and bagged the car with plastic to prevent overspray. We're almost ready to start spraying. There's a couple more things we need to do. We need to go ahead and wax and grease the car one more time, wipe it down. We need to blow it off with a blower, and then we can tack it with a tack rag. Now once it's tacked off, it's ready to start spraying. But before we even do any of that, let's go ahead and get our paint suit on. Alright, so we've got our paint suit on, we've got our gloves on, we're ready to start wiping this stuff down. Let's get it wiped down, then we can tack it off, come back in here and start mixing up some sealer. Alright, so we've got our sealer mixed up. Let's go put one coat of this on everything in the booth. Alright, so our sealer's been sprayed on there and it's been sitting for about 15 minutes to flash off. We've got our single stage mixed up in the gun and we're ready to start spraying. We're going to be applying 2 coats of this on everything in the booth. Let's go put it on there. Alright, so I got my second coat of single stage sprayed on there. Let's go look this thing over, make sure I don't need to put another coat on before I clean out my paint gun. Alright, so I think everything looks great. I'm going to get my paint gun cleaned out, get this paint suit taken off, and head to the house. We'll come back in the morning after this thing's dried overnight and get this thing put back together. Alright, so I'm going to be spraying this raw plastic bumper with bumper system so that the wrap sticks to it. And it takes about 20 minutes to dry before we can actually touch it and put it on the car. So while we're waiting on it to dry, we're going to go ahead and take a DA with some 320 and sand all the primer on the car. We got this thing all put back together. Got the front bumper on, the new headlight in, we put the hood pins in. We leave the plates off because they're going to be wrapping this car. The bumper's been primed, new fenders on. We sanded all the primered areas so they'll be smooth when they put the wrap on. So the only thing that's really left to do to this thing is get a windshield put in. And the glass man is supposed to be here early in the morning so we can get the glass put in it, and then the wrap guy's going to pick up and get this thing wrapped. So the only thing left that I can really do is get this thing off of the jack stands. Alright, so we're here early the next morning, and we're here to get the windshield put in this Miata. Now, the glass man just called me and said that the windshield came in broken, so he's going to have to reorder that thing, and it should be here later today. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and let the wrap guys pick the car up. That way they can go ahead and get this thing wrapped. And if the windshield shows up while it's over at the wrap shop, the glass man can just put it in over there.
The next time you feel yourself being drawn into somebody else's drama, remember these words: not my circus and not my monkeys.
Alright, so that's going to be about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, hit that like button and share it with your friends. And if you're new to the channel and this is the first time you're ever seeing me, consider subscribing and clicking on the bell icon. That way you won't miss any future content. If you have any thoughts or questions about the video, leave it in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. See you!